Pisces. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October of 2021. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale-Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Pisces, you're going to find a lot of the influence this month is in your 8th house of intimacy and sharing. That can mean stuff is up in your emotional relationships, your sexual relationships, or your financial relationships, which may have nothing to do with emotional intimacy. In any case, a natal and transit reading can help answer any and all of your questions, and you'll find a link for that in the YouTube description below. Well, Julia has some news for you about Venus, Mercury, and Mars. What's that stuff, Julia?
Well, I sure do. So Pisces, we'll begin with Venus. She's a planet of art, beauty, and relationships. She begins the month and spends the first week of the month in your 9th house. This is the house of travel. It's the house of adventure. It's the house of expansive experiences. So with Venus in the 9th for the first week, you could really want to go on some kind of pleasure trip. And since Venus rules relationships, if you're in a relationship, maybe this is a good time for you and your partner to take a trip somewhere, enjoy a little romantic vacation. If you're single, it could be a great time to find a holiday romance or become attracted to somebody who comes from a very different background than you, because the 9th house rules foreigners too. Then on October 7th, Venus moves into your 10th house of career. When Venus is in this house, it's a wonderful time for getting along well with the people you work with, including authority figures. So that could be your boss, that could be a teacher if you're still in school, that could be your parents if you're still at home. And when Venus moves through the 10th house, because the 10th house is a very public house, it gives a wonderful boost to your public image. So if you're in the public eye at all, if you do any social media, this can be a really, really wonderful transit for that. Then Mercury, the planet of communication and mentation, starts the month retrograde in your 8th house. This is the house of other people's money, the money you share with the people close to you, like family or institutions like banks. So it can represent loans, inheritances, stocks, investments of all kinds. So with Mercury retrograde in the 8th, it could be a time of rethinking and redoing some of the finances in your life, maybe rethinking taking out a loan or how you want to manage your finances. The 8th house also is a very research-based house as well. So if you're doing any research in your professional life, your school life, you might also have to go over some of your conclusions too. Now on October 9th, Mercury is going to be closely conjoined the sun. We like to call that Lesser Epiphany Day. And this is a very interesting day to mark in your calendar, because you might gain some insights, some aha moments as to what this whole Mercury retrograde cycle was about, especially as it relates to the 8th house. Then by October 18th, Mercury is going to finally go direct, and slowly over the next week, it's going to begin picking up speed and be out of that shadow period. And then therefore, all of these kind of little squirrely miscommunications over money or rethinking about things might also come to an end during that time. So that's really nice. Then Mars, the planet of action and activity, is going to be in your 8th house for pretty much all month. So with Mars, wherever we have Mars is where we put our energy, where we put our drive. And again, the 8th house represents other people's money. So you could be very driven towards kind of securing your financial life. Now, wherever we have Mars, we can run into some conflict and frustration. So there might be some conflicts over other people's money. Maybe you're having a fight with your partner about who's spending more on a joint credit card, or a fight with a bank about getting a loan. But by October 30th, Mars is going to move into your 9th house, and we're going to really cover that transit in depth in our next set of videos, because it's mostly going to hit you next month. So to find out what that's like, just stay tuned to our channel.
Well, Pisces, I've got a couple of moons to tell you about. The first one is happening on the 6th, and you can see right here, sun and moon together in Libra. It's a new moon, which signifies new beginnings, planting of seeds. It's happening in your 8th house, which Julie has been talking about, has absolutely to do with sharing, most particularly financially, emotionally, or even physically in the form of sexual relations. And so there's a planting seeds of new beginnings in the intimate territory of your life. But I want to warn you that Mars is here. And Mars is in Libra, which it doesn't really like to be. We're calling this moon, making peace with adversaries, because Mars brings in this adversarial quality. It does bring in also a lot of directness, a strong will, a forthright attitude, a lot of honesty, and those things are good. But this moon is a little bit brash, a little bit pushy, and it falling in your eighth house. Actually, Mars likes to be in the eighth house. So you could find that you're very especially strong-willed this month, particularly during this moon and the other moon to come. And that one is happening on the 20th, and it features the moon in Aries in your second house, opposite the sun, which is still with Mars in your eighth house. So either of these moons could lead to arguments, most particularly financial ones. And I say that because with the moon with the full moon falling in your second house, that's the house of monies that belong to you specifically, your own finances, your own nest egg, your own earnings and savings. And the moon is in Aries, and it opposes Mars, which rules Aries. Suffice it to say, this is a very hot-headed moon, and a full moon can bring up relationship dynamics to begin with. So I would really watch out for arguments under either of these moons in the financial realms, particularly. And you may find that there's something that you really, really want out of your partner, and that you just feel like pushing and pushing and pushing until you get it. And along those lines, I want to point out that Pluto is here in a square with this moon. And for the reason of Pluto, we're calling this one negotiate strongly, then let go. And the reason for that is that Pluto will add a note of potential manipulation, power and control themes in with this moon, just as sort of a desire to relentlessly push for what is wanted. And you may see this cropping up in yourself. You may see this cropping up in a partner. And so the advice is, yes, put out what you want and be honest and forthright about it. The moon demands that. Mars also demands that. There may be pushback. And so once you have put out there what you want, let go, let God, let the universe handle it from there. That will yield the best results for the future. Then the last thing I want to tell you about is the seasonal change. The sun has been traveling along through Libra, the beautiful, cool season of air, and it's going to move into the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is the third in a row of the 3 sign seasons that have to do with the harvest. That began in Virgo with the separating of the wheat from the chaff, proceeded into Libra with the harvesting of vegetables, the leaves falling from the trees, and now proceeds into Scorpio, which is the butchering season, the culling of the herds, and putting meat away for the winter. So whenever the sun moves into this sign, there's a feeling that the veil between the worlds thins, that you could reach right through that veil and obtain metaphysical information, because this is the sign of death, but also rebirth. It brings the light of consciousness, that's what the sun represents, into your 9th house, which is, as Julia was describing at the beginning of this horoscope, a house that has to do with travel, growth and expansion, really expanding yourself in many different ways, broadening yourself, and also the exotic and the foreign. And when the sun moves into this house, you may find yourself entering into a growth period, which is attended by some loss, some shedding, shall we say, like the snake sheds its skin so that it can grow beyond the old and into the new. And so when this season comes along, Pisces, you may find that there is some form of emotional release that you need to do that will enable your growth process, allowing your feelings to coalesce and concentrate into more focused sensations so they can be released will facilitate your growth and will absolutely point out what you need to let go of right now to let that growth happen. And this is the season for it, the season of Scorpio, which will go on for about 30 days from this point, October 23rd. Well, Pisces, hope you enjoyed this horoscope. You can always find good stuff like this on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. And if Pisces is your sun sign, you should be looking up your rising sign horoscope because that one will work a lot better. And you can find your horoscopes too on our website, pandoraastrology.com, along with the monthly forecast. And you can get readings from us and even take classes too. Until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.